Ladies and gentlemen, loneliness is often perceived as a simple absence of people, an emotional void created by the lack of social interaction or companionship. It is a feeling that many have experienced at some point in their lives, often dismissed as an unfortunate byproduct of modern existence or temporary social disconnection. However, to truly understand the depth of loneliness, one must look beyond its surface and recognize that it is far more complex than merely being alone. In fact, loneliness is not merely an external condition, it is frequently a reflection of unresolved inner conflict, a deep manifestation of the struggles that exist within the self. At its core, loneliness can serve as a mirror reflecting the internal battles that an individual has yet to confront. These battles are not always conscious, they may be deeply buried in the subconscious, but they shape the way we relate to the world and others. Often we are unaware that our feelings of isolation are connected to unresolved emotional wounds, unacknowledged fears, or unmet needs that have been neglected for far too long. It is this internal conflict, whether it be related to past trauma, insecurity, or self-doubt, that fuels the experience of loneliness. This inner turmoil can take many forms. For some, loneliness is born out of unresolved trauma or painful experiences from the past. These experiences may have caused emotional wounds that, over time, festered and became internalized. When someone is unable to heal from past hurts or to address the emotional scars left by previous relationships, whether familial, romantic, or otherwise, those wounds often create a wall between themselves and the world around them. They may yearn for connection, but at the same time they resist it out of fear of being hurt again. The unresolved pain from past experiences therefore acts as a barrier to forming meaningful relationships and in turn deepens the sense of loneliness. For others, the root of their loneliness may lie in a lack of self-worth or self-acceptance. People who struggle with low self-esteem often find it difficult to form connections with others because they do not believe they deserve love, friendship, or companionship. This belief stems from an unresolved inner conflict, a battle between their desire to be accepted and the negative internal dialogue that tells them they are unworthy. This inner dialogue can be harsh and self-critical, perpetuating feelings of inadequacy and reinforcing the belief that no one could truly care for them. As a result, these individuals may push others away, even without realizing it, in order to protect themselves from the perceived rejection that they expect. This creates a vicious cycle. Their unresolved feelings of unworthiness lead to loneliness, which in turn reinforces their belief that they are not deserving of connection or love. Similarly, unresolved fears, fear of vulnerability, fear of rejection, fear of failure can lead to loneliness. These fears are often deeply ingrained and, like other forms of internal conflict, can be difficult to recognize and address. Many people struggle with the notion of being open and vulnerable with others, fearing that to do so would expose their perceived flaws or weaknesses. Vulnerability requires a certain degree of trust, and when someone has unresolved fears, especially from previous relationships or experiences, they may struggle to trust others. This lack of trust, whether directed at others or at themselves, creates a sense of disconnection. The inability to truly open up and share oneself with others isolates the individual, keeping them locked in their own inner world where the conflict remains unresolved. Another significant aspect of loneliness as an internal conflict is the dissonance between one's true self and the self that is presented to the world. Many individuals struggle with the pressure to conform to societal expectations or to live up to the standards set by others, whether these be in terms of career, relationships, appearance, or behavior. This external pressure can create a deep internal conflict as the individual is torn between their true desires and the role they feel they must play in order to be accepted or valued by society. When this conflict is left unresolved, it can lead to feelings of emptiness and a sense of being disconnected from one's authentic self. The individual may feel like an imposter in their own life, unable to find true connection with others because they are not living in alignment with who they really are. This disconnection from the self can manifest as loneliness as the individual yearns for real, meaningful connections but is unable to form them due to their internal conflict. Furthermore, loneliness can be a consequence of the emotional baggage that accumulates when an individual avoids or suppresses their feelings. People often try to numb or distract themselves from difficult emotions, either because they lack the emotional tools to process them or because they fear the pain that would come with confronting them. But avoidance only deepens the emotional conflict. As unresolved emotions do not disappear, they linger, affecting the way we interact with the world and others. When someone fails to acknowledge or address their own emotional needs, it creates a gap between their true emotional experience and the image they project to others. This gap can foster feelings of alienation, as the individual may feel disconnected from both themselves and the people around them. Loneliness, then, is not a superficial experience. It is often the result of unresolved inner conflict, a reflection of the emotional and psychological struggles that lie beneath the surface. It is a signal that something within the self is out of balance, whether it is unresolved pain, unaddressed fears, a lack of self-worth, or an internal battle between authenticity and societal expectations. To truly overcome loneliness, one must first look inward and confront the conflict that exists within. This requires self-reflection, a willingness to face uncomfortable truths, and the courage to begin the process of healing. Only by addressing the internal turmoil can one hope to break free from the cycle of loneliness and forge genuine, meaningful connections with others. Isolation is a state that many people find themselves in at different points in their lives. It is a place where the external world seems distant and detached, where the connections that once felt natural fade into a distant memory, leaving behind only the deafening silence of one's own company. For some, isolation is temporary, an inevitable consequence of life's ebbs and flows. But for others, it becomes a more persistent companion, a shadow that looms larger with each passing day. Confronting this isolation, however, requires something more than a mere desire to escape the solitude. It demands courage, the courage to face not only the external circumstances that breed isolation, but also the internal battles that sustain it. Isolation, at its core, is not simply about being alone. Many people may spend time in solitude without feeling isolated, finding peace and introspection in their own company. But when isolation is driven by deeper emotional or psychological factors, it becomes a prison, one that not only limits external connection but also erodes one's sense of self-worth and purpose. The courage to confront isolation, therefore, is rooted in the ability to face these underlying fears and unresolved issues. It is a willingness to look inward and acknowledge the discomfort, the shame, or the pain that has led to the state of emotional detachment in the first place. The first step in confronting isolation is acknowledging its presence. Many people who experience isolation do so in silence, unable or unwilling to articulate the depth of their loneliness, even to themselves. The fear of judgment, the shame of appearing weak or unworthy, or the discomfort of vulnerability can prevent them from reaching out, either to others or to themselves. But before one can take meaningful action, the first step is to admit the truth: isolation is real, and it is a reflection of something deeper. It may be a result of unresolved emotional wounds, a lack of self-esteem, past traumas, or unhealed hurts that have prevented connection with others. Whatever its origin, isolation begins as an internal condition, a state of mind that is perpetuated by a reluctance to confront these deep-seated issues. Confronting isolation begins with acknowledging that it exists and that it is something that needs to be addressed, not hidden or ignored. This admission, however, is not an easy one to make. It requires vulnerability, the willingness to face the uncomfortable truths about one's life and self. And vulnerability, for many, is the very thing they fear most. To be vulnerable is to expose one's inner self to the world, to show parts of oneself that are raw, unpolished, and perhaps even broken. Yet it is only through this vulnerability that true healing can occur. Isolation often arises from a fear of being rejected, judged, or misunderstood, and the courage to confront this isolation means embracing vulnerability and risking the possibility of further pain. It is in the willingness to face these fears head-on that one begins to move beyond isolation and toward genuine connection. The courage to confront isolation also requires confronting the reasons why isolation has taken hold in the first place. Often, isolation is a defense mechanism, a way of protecting oneself from the perceived dangers of emotional or relational exposure. It is a way of retreating from the world in an attempt to avoid the discomfort of rejection, judgment, or failure. People who have been hurt in past relationships, whether through betrayal, abandonment, or emotional neglect, may withdraw into isolation as a way to shield themselves from further pain. The internal dialogue that accompanies this withdrawal often centers around self-protection, telling oneself that it is safer to be alone than to risk being hurt again. But while isolation may provide temporary relief from emotional pain, it only deepens the wounds in the long run. The courage to confront isolation means challenging this defense mechanism, recognizing that avoiding connection only perpetuates the cycle of emotional suffering. In addition to internal fears, the external pressures that contribute to isolation must also be addressed. Modern life, with its emphasis on individualism and self-reliance, often places immense pressure on people to function independently and avoid showing signs of weakness. The cultural expectation of constant productivity and success can make those who struggle with loneliness feel inadequate, as though their isolation is a personal failure. In a society that often glorifies social connections and public success, the individual who experiences isolation may feel invisible, as though their emotional struggles are not valid or worthy of attention. Confronting this external pressure requires the courage to reject the idea that one must always appear strong, happy, and successful. It means acknowledging that it is okay to be vulnerable and to admit that one is struggling. By confronting the external forces that perpetuate isolation, individuals can begin to reclaim their sense of self-worth and understand that their experiences are valid, regardless of society's expectations. The courage to confront isolation also requires the willingness to take action, even when it feels overwhelming or impossible. This means reaching out to others, even when the thought of doing so fills one with dread. It means taking the first step, no matter how small, toward reconnecting with the world. It may involve joining a support group, seeking therapy, or simply initiating a conversation with someone, a friend, a family member, or even a stranger. The act of reaching out is not a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of strength, a declaration that one refuses to remain trapped in isolation. It is a way of taking control, of choosing to face the discomfort of vulnerability in order to break free from the chains of emotional solitude. But reaching out is not enough. The courage to confront isolation also requires the willingness to face the discomfort of change. For many, isolation becomes a habit, a comfortable, albeit painful, way of existing. The thought of breaking free from this habit can feel daunting, as it requires stepping out of the comfort zone and embracing the unknown. This process of change involves confronting old patterns of behavior, such as withdrawing in the face of conflict or avoiding difficult emotions. It means learning new ways of interacting with the world, ways that involve openness, trust, and emotional risk. Change, though necessary, is never easy. It requires perseverance, self-compassion, and the recognition that growth often comes with discomfort. The courage to confront isolation is not a one-time act, but an ongoing process. It is a journey of self-discovery, of confronting the fears, wounds, and patterns that keep one trapped in emotional solitude. It is a commitment to growth, to vulnerability, and to the belief that connection both with oneself and others is possible, even in the face of pain and uncertainty. Through this courageous confrontation of isolation, individuals can begin to reclaim their lives, forge deeper relationships, and rediscover their sense of purpose in the world. Self-worth is an often elusive but profoundly important concept in the human experience. It is the foundation upon which an individual's sense of identity, value, and potential is built. In its simplest form, self-worth refers to how we value ourselves, the degree to which we believe we are deserving of respect, love, and success. It is not merely a reflection of how others perceive us, but an internal gauge of our own significance and dignity. Despite its importance, many people struggle with a fragile or diminished sense of self-worth, which can profoundly affect their mental health, relationships, and overall quality of life. The role of self-worth is often underestimated, particularly in a society that places a premium on external validation. From a young age, individuals are taught to measure their value based on their achievements, appearance, or the opinions of others. Social media, educational institutions, and even family dynamics often reinforce these measures of worth by emphasizing comparison and competition. As a result, many people come to define themselves based on what they can do for others, how they appear in public, or how much they are admired, rather than on an intrinsic sense of personal dignity and value. However, true self-worth is not contingent upon external factors. It is an internal belief in one's inherent value independent of the approval or recognition of others. This understanding of self-worth is crucial because when based solely on external validation, one's sense of worth becomes unstable and fleeting. Achievements can be lost, relationships can falter, and appearances can change, but intrinsic self-worth remains constant. It is this internal foundation of value that provides the strength to face life's challenges, endure setbacks, and thrive in the face of adversity. The importance of self-worth lies in its capacity to shape how we view ourselves and the world around us. When a person has a strong sense of self-worth, they are more likely to approach life with confidence and resilience. They believe that they are capable of handling challenges and worthy of respect, which fuels their determination to persevere, even in difficult circumstances. In contrast, when self-worth is lacking, individuals may struggle to take risks, set boundaries, or advocate for themselves. They may feel unworthy of success or happiness, which can lead to feelings of helplessness, anxiety, and depression. A strong sense of self-worth also enables individuals to establish healthier, more fulfilling relationships. People who value themselves are more likely to set clear boundaries, communicate their needs, and expect respect from others. They understand that they deserve to be treated with kindness and consideration and are less likely to tolerate mistreatment or abuse. Conversely, individuals with low self-worth may attract or tolerate unhealthy relationships because they do not believe they deserve better. They may allow themselves to be mistreated or neglect their own needs in favor of pleasing others. This pattern often leads to resentment, emotional exhaustion, and further deterioration of self-esteem. Furthermore, self-worth plays a critical role in personal growth and achievement. When we value ourselves, we are more likely to pursue our goals with purpose and determination. We are willing to invest time and effort in developing our skills, pursuing our passions, and creating meaningful experiences. Self-worth acts as a motivator, propelling us forward even in the face of setbacks. It provides the internal encouragement to take risks, step outside our comfort zones, and embrace new opportunities. Without a solid sense of self-worth, however, individuals may shy away from challenges, fearing failure or judgment. They may procrastinate, sabotage their own progress, or avoid taking action altogether, believing they are not capable or deserving of success. A healthy sense of self-worth also allows individuals to accept themselves' imperfections and all. Many people struggle with feelings of inadequacy or self-criticism, constantly seeking to meet external expectations or striving for perfection. This perpetual striving can lead to burnout, dissatisfaction, and a diminished sense of self. True self-worth, however, comes from accepting oneself as a whole, recognizing both strengths and weaknesses, and understanding that mistakes and imperfections do not diminish one's value. In this way, self-worth fosters self-compassion, the ability to be kind and forgiving toward oneself in times of failure or difficulty. Instead of being harshly self-critical, individuals with strong self-worth are able to view their flaws as opportunities for growth and learning, rather than as a reflection of their inadequacy. Another aspect of self-worth that is often overlooked is its connection to the ability to contribute meaningfully to the world. When individuals feel valuable, they are more likely to make positive contributions to their communities and society. A strong sense of self-worth encourages people to recognize their potential to make a difference, whether through their work, relationships, or personal passions. It is this belief in one's own inherent value that drives people to share their talents, resources, and time with others, knowing that they have something worthwhile to offer. This sense of contribution is not about seeking recognition or praise, but about expressing one's unique abilities and making an impact, however small, on the world around them. On the other hand, a lack of self-worth can lead to feelings of inadequacy, isolation, and disconnection. Individuals who do not value themselves may find it difficult to find meaning in their lives or to see the impact of their actions. They may withdraw from opportunities to contribute or may sabotage their own efforts, believing that their contributions are insignificant or unworthy of attention. This disconnection from one's own potential can lead to a sense of purposelessness, making it difficult to move forward in life or to find fulfillment in one's endeavors. The cultivation of self-worth is a lifelong process, one that requires introspection, self-compassion, and a willingness to challenge negative beliefs and patterns. It is not something that can be achieved overnight, nor is it a destination to be reached. Rather, it is a continuous journey of understanding one's value and embracing it fully. For many, this journey involves healing from past traumas, addressing negative self-talk, and learning to set healthy boundaries. It requires letting go of the need for external validation and embracing the idea that one's worth is not contingent upon achievements or others' opinions. Instead, self-worth is rooted in the recognition that every individual is inherently valuable, deserving of respect, love, and fulfillment simply because they exist. Self-worth is not just about feeling good about oneself in moments of success, but also about maintaining dignity in moments of failure, rejection, or hardship. It is the inner strength that allows individuals to rise after they fall, to learn from their mistakes, and to continue striving toward their goals. When we cultivate a strong sense of self-worth, we unlock the potential to lead richer, more fulfilling lives that are not defined by the judgments of others, but by the belief in our own inherent value. Boundaries are essential to the health and vitality of any relationship, whether personal, professional, or familial. They define where one person ends and another begins, creating a framework within which people can interact, connect, and grow without sacrificing their individuality or emotional well-being. In essence, boundaries are the invisible lines that protect us from emotional or physical harm, while also allowing for intimacy, trust, and mutual respect. While the idea of boundaries is often discussed in terms of personal space or physical limits, they also encompass emotional, mental, and psychological boundaries, which are equally, if not more, important in sustaining healthy relationships. Understanding and establishing boundaries is not merely a matter of protecting oneself, it is also about creating a safe space where meaningful and respectful connections can flourish. The primary role of boundaries in building relationships is to foster mutual respect. Healthy boundaries are founded on the idea that each individual has the right to define their own needs, desires, and limits. When we establish boundaries, we communicate our preferences and values clearly to others, allowing them to understand what we are comfortable with and what we are not. By doing so, we set the stage for respect and understanding, ensuring that our interactions are based on consent and consideration for one another's emotional and physical space. For example, if a person sets a boundary around the amount of personal time they need or the kind of communication they prefer, they are actively communicating their needs and expectations. This allows others to make informed choices about how to engage with them, and it creates an environment where both parties feel valued and respected. Boundaries also play a crucial role in maintaining one's sense of self within a relationship. Without clear boundaries, it is easy for individuals to lose their sense of identity, especially in close or codependent relationships. When people do not set boundaries, they may inadvertently allow others to overstep their emotional or physical limits, leading to a sense of self-sacrifice or a loss of personal autonomy. This is particularly true in relationships where one person is overly dependent on the other or where there is an imbalance of power. In such cases, one individual may feel compelled to prioritize the needs of the other over their own, leading to resentment, emotional fatigue, or feelings of being trapped. Boundaries help to prevent this by ensuring that both individuals in the relationship have the space to be themselves, to pursue their own interests, and to maintain their personal values and beliefs. They create a healthy distance between the people involved, which allows each person to grow and evolve without feeling suffocated or overwhelmed. Establishing and maintaining boundaries also allows for better communication in relationships. When people are clear about their limits and expectations, it becomes easier to express their thoughts, feelings, and desires in a direct and honest way. This openness fosters transparency and trust, which are the cornerstones of any successful relationship. For instance, if someone is uncomfortable with a certain behavior or action, they can assertively communicate this boundary to the other person, who can then respect it. This creates an environment where both parties feel comfortable being honest about their needs and concerns without fear of judgment or reprisal. Clear boundaries prevent misunderstandings and miscommunications, which can often lead to unnecessary conflicts. Instead of assuming what the other person might want or need, both individuals can engage in open, honest dialogue that supports healthy and respectful interactions. Furthermore, boundaries help to prevent emotional burnout and resentment in relationships. When we fail to set boundaries, we may find ourselves overcommitting to others, taking on responsibilities that are not ours, or tolerating behaviors that make us uncomfortable. Over time, this can lead to emotional exhaustion as we constantly give without receiving what we need in return. This imbalance can create feelings of frustration, anger, and resentment, which can erode the quality of the relationship. By setting boundaries, we protect ourselves from becoming emotionally depleted, while also ensuring that the relationship remains balanced and equitable. Boundaries enable individuals to prioritize their own well-being and self-care, allowing them to maintain the emotional energy needed to nurture healthy relationships without sacrificing their own mental or emotional health. In addition to protecting individuals from emotional burnout, boundaries also promote healthy conflict resolution. No relationship is without its challenges, and disagreements are a natural part of any connection. However, how we handle conflict is influenced by the boundaries we set. When boundaries are respected, individuals are more likely to approach conflicts with a sense of calm, knowing that their needs and concerns will be taken seriously. Conversely, when boundaries are disregarded, conflicts can escalate quickly, leading to heightened emotions and a breakdown in communication. Healthy boundaries allow both individuals to express their perspectives without fear of being invalidated or dismissed, creating a space for productive dialogue and problem solving. By ensuring that both people's needs and feelings are respected, boundaries contribute to healthier, more constructive ways of managing disagreements and challenges. One of the most vital aspects of boundaries in building relationships is the role they play in fostering emotional safety. Emotional safety is the feeling that one can express themselves openly and authentically without fear of judgment, criticism, or rejection. Without boundaries, relationships can become emotionally unsafe, as one person may inadvertently or intentionally overstep the other's limits. This can create feelings of vulnerability, anxiety, or distress, particularly if a person feels that their emotional needs or limits are being ignored. Boundaries are essential for creating emotional safety because they establish clear parameters for respectful behavior and interaction. When both parties understand and honor each other's boundaries, they create an environment where both individuals can express themselves freely, knowing that their feelings will be respected and valued. Boundaries also allow for the cultivation of trust, which is fundamental to building lasting relationships. Trust is built when people consistently honor each other's boundaries and demonstrate that they can be relied upon to respect one another's emotional and physical space. When trust is present, individuals feel more secure in their relationships, knowing that they can rely on the other person to be mindful of their needs and limits. This mutual respect forms the foundation for a deep, enduring connection, where both people feel valued, understood, and supported. In relationships where boundaries are violated or ignored, trust is eroded, making it difficult to rebuild the connection. Ultimately, the role of boundaries in building relationships cannot be overstated. They are the invisible but essential guidelines that ensure mutual respect, emotional safety, and personal autonomy. By setting and maintaining healthy boundaries, individuals can cultivate stronger, more fulfilling relationships that are based on honesty, trust, and care. Boundaries provide the structure within which intimacy and connection can flourish, allowing both people to grow together while still honoring their individuality. In this way, boundaries are not barriers to connection, but rather the foundation upon which meaningful, healthy, and enduring relationships are built. Personal transformation is an ongoing process of growth and change that allows individuals to evolve into the best versions of themselves. It is a journey of self-discovery and self-improvement that requires courage, dedication, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. In a world where external pressures and societal expectations often shape our sense of identity, personal transformation is an essential means of reclaiming one's autonomy and aligning with one's true purpose and values. The need for personal transformation arises from the recognition that we are constantly evolving beings capable of greater potential than we often realize. It is about acknowledging that, while our past experiences and present circumstances have shaped us, we are not bound by them. We have the power to change, grow, and redefine who we are and what we stand for. One of the primary reasons personal transformation is necessary is that it enables individuals to break free from the limitations imposed by their past. Many people carry baggage from their childhood, previous relationships, or past failures, which can shape their perception of themselves and their abilities. These experiences, while they may have been formative, can become obstacles to personal growth if they are not addressed. Negative beliefs about oneself, such as feelings of inadequacy, fear of failure, or imposter syndrome, are often rooted in past experiences. Personal transformation provides the opportunity to challenge these limiting beliefs and redefine one's self-worth. It involves acknowledging the past, learning from it, but not allowing it to dictate the future. By embracing change, individuals can shed the weight of their past and move forward with a sense of renewed purpose and possibility. Personal transformation also addresses the inherent tension between who we are and who we want to be. Everyone has aspirations, dreams, and goals, but the journey to actualizing those desires often involves overcoming internal resistance and external challenges. The need for personal transformation arises when an individual recognizes a gap between their current state and their ideal self. This awareness sparks the desire to change, not out of self-criticism, but out of a genuine desire to grow and improve. Personal transformation is not about rejecting one's current self, but about embracing the potential for growth. It is about recognizing that we have the capacity to evolve, develop new skills, and cultivate new perspectives that can help us reach our highest potential. It is through this process of self-realization and transformation that individuals can become more aligned with their true selves, creating a life that reflects their values, passions, and purpose. Moreover, personal transformation is crucial for improving relationships and social interactions. Our interactions with others are often a reflection of how we view ourselves. If we harbor self-doubt, fear, or unresolved emotional wounds, these feelings can influence how we relate to others. Personal transformation provides an opportunity to heal from past emotional scars and to become more aware of how our thoughts, behaviors, and reactions impact our relationships. As we work on transforming ourselves, we learn to set healthier boundaries, communicate more effectively, and approach others with empathy and understanding. Through personal growth, we become better equipped to cultivate meaningful, supportive relationships and to create an environment where both we and those around us can thrive. Transformation is not only an individual endeavor, but a communal one, as personal growth positively affects the way we engage with the world and those within it. A significant aspect of personal transformation is the development of emotional resilience. Life is unpredictable, and challenges are inevitable. Whether facing personal setbacks, health issues, financial difficulties, or loss, we are all confronted with adversity at some point. The need for personal transformation becomes evident when we realize that how we respond to these challenges significantly impacts our well-being. Emotional resilience is the ability to adapt to adversity and remain grounded even in difficult times. It is the ability to bounce back from failure, maintain perspective, and continue moving forward despite obstacles. Personal transformation helps build emotional resilience by encouraging individuals to confront their fears, heal from past wounds, and cultivate coping strategies that promote mental and emotional well-being. Through this process, individuals develop a stronger sense of inner strength and a greater capacity to face life's challenges with courage and composure. Furthermore, personal transformation leads to greater self-awareness and self-acceptance. The process of transformation involves deep introspection, which allows individuals to examine their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors in order to identify areas for growth. This self-awareness is a powerful tool for change, as it enables individuals to recognize patterns, habits, or beliefs that may be holding them back. It also fosters a greater sense of self-acceptance as individuals come to understand and appreciate their authentic selves. Transformation encourages people to embrace their strengths, acknowledge their weaknesses, and view themselves with compassion and understanding, instead of focusing on perfection or comparing oneself to others. Personal transformation encourages a healthy relationship with oneself, where growth is seen as a natural and ongoing process rather than a destination to be reached. The need for personal transformation also stems from the desire for a more fulfilling and meaningful life. Many people feel disconnected from their purpose or unfulfilled in their day-to-day existence. They may feel as though they are simply going through the motions without a clear sense of direction or passion. Personal transformation is a catalyst for rediscovering one's sense of purpose. It involves reflecting on what truly matters, what brings joy, and what aligns with one's deepest values. Through this process, individuals can reorient their lives toward activities, careers, and relationships that bring them fulfillment. It allows them to pursue their passions with greater clarity and confidence, leading to a life that is more authentic and meaningful. Personal transformation empowers individuals to create a life that reflects their true desires, rather than simply conforming to external expectations or societal norms. At its core, personal transformation is an act of self-empowerment. It is a recognition that we are not passive recipients of life's circumstances, but active participants in shaping our future. Through transformation, we reclaim control over our lives, our emotions, and our choices. We recognize that while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we have the power to choose how we respond and how we grow. This sense of agency is incredibly empowering as it allows individuals to move beyond victimhood and embrace their capacity for change. Transformation fosters a mindset of possibility, where challenges are seen as opportunities for growth and every setback is viewed as a stepping stone toward greater self-discovery. The need for personal transformation, therefore, is not a call to reject who we are, but to embrace who we have the potential to become. It is a reminder that growth is not only possible but necessary for living a fulfilling and authentic life. Personal transformation enables individuals to overcome limitations, discover their true selves, and create a life that is aligned with their highest values and aspirations. It is a continuous process, one that requires patience, self-compassion, and resilience, but it is through this process that we unlock our full potential and create the life we are truly capable of living.